I hope everyone is doing amazing. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending wherever you're watching from. Okay, so I have a prayer alarm that I set 3 times a day. And when I settled myself in my body for my morning prayer, which is a very important prayer tip, before you pray, to settle yourself in your body first. And I have seen videos of people saying that they feel something in the air. And I've seen at least 4 of these videos of people who could be spiritually sensitive, could be psychic, right? But I feel it too. And I was like, I know I'm not the only person that feels this like sort of weirdness. What's going on? You know? And when I went, for my prayers this morning, I got a download about alien interference in the air. I couldn't finish the title because it only gives you 100 characters, okay? I tried. But what I really wanted to put in the title was alien interference in the air. And it's already a big deal that the government flies planes across the sky with chemicals in them. Why? Why would you need to mess up the sky? Why would you need to do anything to the clouds, to the natural order, to the natural process of nature? Why would anything need to be in the sky except a plane for passengers? And not just spraying chemicals in the air and people videoing chemicals coming out of light posts on the street. You're walking down the street and there's some mist that comes out of the light post. We need to make sure we're doing more protection of our crown chakra and our third eye. Because there's always been a lot of warfare against us, obviously, right? But this is the kind of warfare that changes people's whole entire personalities. Good people can turn into murderers. Murderers can turn into serial killers or worse. And I do feel like it does carry a lot of negative energy. So, especially if you're spiritually sensitive, psychic, tarot reader, whatever, make sure right now you are being really vigilant with your time, with your energy, with your thoughts as well, because I feel like this has some sort of like mind control substance to it. And I feel like that's why, we've seen a lot of stories of people saying, I heard voices tell me to do it. I heard voices tell me to do it. These voices are coming from not just, like I said, planes in the air that have been spraying chemicals for years, but also another technology that is basically like what the government wants us to believe will be alien interference. But there's something way darker behind that. And like I said, it's about mind control. So make sure whatever it is you do to protect yourself and your mind, body, and your spirit, that you're doing it now more than ever. Maybe even a cleanse, maybe even a fast. Because I really do feel like there's another wave of energy coming, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It feels kind of negative. And it's because I know that the ethers are always being played with. There's always some sort of control trying to go on with the ethers, our mind, our bodies, our spirits, the food we eat, the water we drink. All of that adds on to these components. What's being put in the food? You guys saw the CEO of McDonald's wouldn't even chew the burger? And I know people that eat McDonald's like every day. I don't get how they do it. But another thing about this alien interference is that it also comes from, a reptilian place as well. And I actually want to tell a little story. I used to work at a restaurant. I'm not going to say the name of the restaurant, but the general manager there was, at first I thought she was cool, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, this girl's something's wrong, right? You feel me? I know all of us have had experience where we meet somebody, right? And we're like, something's wrong with this person. But this woman, there was a plate that was sitting in the freaking hot window. If you ever worked in a restaurant, you know there's like a hot window where food gets kept. And this particular restaurant kept the hot window scorching. She handed me this plate, you guys, with no gloves, no nothing on her hands. Why my fingertips touched the plate and it burnt my tips. My tips were red for about 4 days. My hand tips were burnt. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you didn't use anything? And she looked me dead in my eyes and said, I'm not human. And I just kind of like looked at her and I was like, what? Like, did she really just say I'm not human? It was freaked me out. But coming down the line later on, basically the job got worse and worse and worse till I had to leave before I crash out. You should always leave a job before you crash out if it really is that bad, right? So that's what I did. And after I left that job, I felt this really unexplainable heaviness, and I started praying about it to dissolve it and to give me clarity on it and to remove it. And I'm not gonna lie to you, maybe a day later, I was in prayer and meditation, and I had a vision of that GM I told you guys. I had a vision of her shapeshifting into a giant lizard. We really are amongst aliens and reptilians already. They already live. What's that movie? They live, they're alive, something like that. Honestly, they do always tell us what goes on in these movies, and they do always portray something that's actually happening in reality. Like, what's that other one? The Truman Show. They're always doing that. But I don't think I want to pull any cards on this. But just make sure you guys are when and here's the main thing. Hold on. Let me figure out how to piece this together. When you are praying, when you are meditating, make sure you focus and your intention is on heaven, heavenly energies. Because what I'm getting with these this reptilian alien interference is that they want to interfere with the ethers to cut off the energy of prayers. And this is not the first time I've said this. If you've been on my channel for a minute, I've been said that there is an energy that is trying to work through the ethers to cut off the energy of people praying and people sending asking for a spiritual help from heaven. That has been a part of spiritual warfare for a very, 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 very long time. So, that's why it's important to pray to protect the ethers, to pray to protect our prayers, because the powers that were, they know spiritual energy. They have spiritual knowledge, maybe more knowledge than a lot of people, right? That's why it's important to read on certain things and research certain things and pay attention to certain things, right? Instead of just ignoring them. So, yes, when you guys do pray, when you do meditate, make sure you focus your intention on heavenly energies and pray to protect your prayers, because this just feels very dark to me, and it has for like a little minute. I'm not going to lie. But you got to understand what happens um with that interference is also possession for people who are not praying, for people who rely more on earthly um desires, right? More shallow desires, more egotistical things in life. And so yeah, I'm not going to drag this out too long. I'm going to go. And what was I going to say? Oh, any information you guys need in the description box below, as well as those high vibrational channels, you guys, okay? If you come on this channel, it's only for people that want to elevate. So make sure you guys check out those channels. And personal reading slots are open. And yep, I'll call y'all back.